The film opens in an airport in Idaho, where passengers are receiving news that flights are being canceled due to an incoming storm. Among them is Alex Martin, a determined and adventurous photojournalist who is trying to get to Denver for her wedding the next day. Alex is a bold and spontaneous individual, unwilling to let an obstacle like bad weather stand in her way. Meanwhile, Dr. Ben Bass, a highly skilled neurosurgeon, is also at the airport. He needs to reach Baltimore urgently because he has an important surgery scheduled the next morning. Unlike Alex, Ben is calm, methodical, and cautious. He carefully assesses the situation, realizing that there are no immediate alternatives to get out of Idaho. Alex approaches him and suggests chartering a private plane to bypass the storm. The two locate Walter, an older, experienced pilot who owns a small two-seater propeller plane. Walter assures them that he can get them past the storm safely. His demeanor is confident but relaxed, and he seems to know what he's doing. Before they board, Walter's golden retriever joins them, climbing into the plane as if it's a routine trip. They board the plane and begin their flight over the rugged, snow-covered mountains. At first, everything seems fine. The plane soars over the beautiful mountain landscapes, and both Alex and Ben sit tensely, still uneasy about the flight. As time passes, they begin making small talk, learning little things about each other. Alex, being naturally curious, asks Ben about his personal life. He remains reserved, revealing only that he is a surgeon and that his patients are relying on him to arrive on time. Alex, in contrast, is more open and shares her excitement about her upcoming wedding. Suddenly, trouble begins. Walter starts acting strangely, gripping his arm and struggling to keep control of the plane. His breathing becomes erratic, and his speech slurs. He is having a stroke. Ben, recognizing the symptoms immediately, rushes to help, but they are thousands of feet in the air with no way to stop what's happening. As Walter loses consciousness, the plane begins to nosedive. The aircraft shakes violently as it plunges through the clouds, hurtling toward the icy mountains below. Ben desperately grabs at the controls, trying to stabilize the plane, but it's too late. The plane slams into the snow-covered peaks, skidding across the ice before finally coming to a halt on the remote mountainside. Later, Ben regains consciousness first. Disoriented and injured, he groggily takes in the wreckage around him. The plane is heavily damaged, broken apart across the frozen terrain. He quickly checks himself for injuries before remembering Alex. Turning, he sees her unconscious, her head resting awkwardly against the twisted remains of her seat. He examines her closely and finds that her leg is badly injured. Looking outside, Ben sees that they are completely isolated. The pilot did not survive, his body remains strapped to his seat. The golden retriever, however, is alive, shivering from the cold but unharmed. Realizing that they are stranded in the middle of a vast, frozen wilderness with no sign of civilization, no radio signal, and limited supplies, Ben knows that survival will be a serious challenge. He begins tending to Alex's injuries, aware that if they don't figure out a plan soon, they might not make it out alive. After some time, Alex regains consciousness, groggy and in pain. She immediately panics, realizing what has happened. She struggles to sit up, but Ben stops her, warning that she has a serious leg injury. Alex, despite her pain, begins asking questions, trying to understand the situation. Ben explains that they haven't been found yet, and there is no radio signal to call for help. Alex, still disoriented, suggests that they should start moving, assuming that a rescue team must be looking for them. Ben, however, is more realistic. He tells her that Walter never filed a flight plan, which means no one knows exactly where they are. With a storm in the forecast, it's better for them to just wait in the plane. This leads to their first major disagreement. Alex, being impulsive and headstrong, believes they look for help and not wait for rescue, while Ben, logical and methodical, insists that no one is coming and they must stay warm. Their personalities clash. Ben is reserved and cautious, while Alex is emotional and determined. However, they both realize they need each other to survive. The next morning, Ben sets out to explore the surrounding area, hoping to find signs of life. He climbs to a high vantage point and sees nothing but endless snow and jagged cliffs. It's clear they are deep in an uncharted, isolated part of the mountains. Realizing they can't stay in one place, Ben returns to Alex and tells her they need to start moving. She hesitates, knowing her injured leg will slow them down, but Ben refuses to leave her behind. They gather what little supplies they have, including some snacks, a lighter, and makeshift walking sticks, and prepare to descend the mountain in search of help. With Ben supporting Alex, and the dog leading the way, they take their first painful steps into the vast, frozen wilderness, fully aware that their fight for survival has only just begun. Alex is struggling, Her fractured leg is making every step excruciatingly painful, and the freezing temperatures are taking a toll on both of them. Ben tries to keep her moving, but the harsh terrain and thin air make their journey agonizingly slow. Every step through the deep snow drains their energy, and with limited food, they begin to feel weaker. Alex, still in pain and growing increasingly frustrated, begins questioning their decision. That night, they take shelter in a small cave, trying to stay warm. They barely have any food left, and Ben realizes that their bodies are beginning to deteriorate from lack of nourishment. As dawn breaks, Alex is the first to wake. The cold still clings to her body, but a new sense of determination pushes her forward. She pulls out her camera and lifts it to her eye, hoping to capture the sheer scale of the mountains. As she adjusts the lens, something catches her attention in the distance. A structure stands far away, barely visible through the mist. Her pulse quickens. It is impossible to tell what it is from here, but it could be a house, maybe even a cabin where people live. With renewed hope, Alex, Ben, and the dog set off toward the structure. The snow crunches beneath their feet as they push forward, the bitter cold biting at their exposed skin. The journey is grueling, their bodies aching from days of hunger and exhaustion, but the distant goal keeps them moving. After several hours, they reach an obstacle that halts them in their tracks. A wide, fast-moving river cuts through the snowy terrain, its icy surface shimmering under the weak sunlight. Crossing it is impossible. The water is strong, the current too powerful. They decide to walk along the riverbank, searching for another way around. When they finally reach a fallen tree trunk that provides some rest, they sit, catching their breath. Alex notices something strange: the dog is missing. She urges Ben to find the dog before it gets lost in the wilderness. Ben, though exhausted, gets up and heads into the woods, following the faint tracks in the snow. As he moves deeper, something unexpected appears before him. A house stands hidden among the trees, old and worn. Ben rushes toward it, shouting for help, his voice echoing through the silent forest. As he reaches the door, his excitement fades. The house is abandoned. Before he can process the letdown, a sharp scream slices through the cold air. Alex is in trouble. Back at the river, Alex has unknowingly stepped onto a fragile patch of ice. But before she can react, the ice shatters beneath her feet. She plunges into the freezing water, the shock stealing the air from her lungs. Without hesitation, Ben throws himself onto the frozen river. He pulls with all his strength, dragging her lifeless body onto the bank. Ben carries Alex back to the abandoned house, his arms wrapped tightly around her frozen body. As the morning light filters through the broken windows, Alex's eyelids flutter open. Her breathing is weak, but steady. Still too weak to move, Alex allows Ben to feed her the last of their food. She doesn't protest, knowing that she doesn't yet have the strength to do it herself. Later that day, while Ben is outside gathering more wood, Alex begins going through his things. She finds his phone, long dead from the cold, and discovers his old voicemails. Curiosity gets the best of her, and she listens. A woman's voice fills the silence, a breakup message. The woman tells Ben that their relationship is over, that he is too consumed with work to make time for her, that she needs more than what he is willing to give. Alex listens carefully, piecing together a truth that Ben has never spoken about. He is a man who buries himself in work to avoid emotions, a man who distances himself from others rather than facing pain. Ben returns and immediately notices Alex holding his phone. His expression shifts to irritation, his guard instantly back up. Alex quickly apologizes, explaining that she wanted to understand him better. Ben remains silent, unwilling to open up. He mutters that he's going to get more wood and turns to leave, shutting down the conversation before it can go any further. Before he can step outside, Alex reaches for him, pulling him into a gentle embrace. She tells him that she understands him now. His walls, his silence, his need to avoid pain. A quiet moment passes before Alex leans in and kisses him. Ben hesitates for only a second before he kisses her back. Their survival had bonded them, but this was something deeper. The morning light seeps through the cracks of the abandoned cabin. Alex, still weak but more determined than ever, looks at Ben with pleading eyes. She knows she doesn't have the strength to keep going, but she refuses to let them both die here. She urges Ben to leave her behind and go find help. She tells him that if he doesn't leave now, they will never make it out alive. Ben resists at first, unwilling to abandon her, but Alex is firm. She insists that one of them has to try, and right now, he is their best chance. Ben reluctantly gives in. He gathers his things and heads toward the door, pausing for a moment before stepping outside into the cold. The wind howls around him as he takes his first steps away from the cabin, his boots sinking into the snow. Then, something shifts inside him. He remembers how it felt to be left behind. Without hesitation, he turns back. bursting back into the cabin, his breath heavy with determination. He tells her that he's not leaving her like his wife left him. As they step out, they move slowly, their bodies battered and exhausted. Alex stumbles, her body giving in. She tells Ben she can't walk anymore. Her legs refuse to move. Ben refuses to let her give up. He builds a makeshift sled and begins pulling her through the snow, his muscles screaming in protest. Then, through the haze of white and ice, he sees something in the distance, a factory, standing tall against the endless snow. He rushes to Alex, shaking her awake, urging her to look. Alex blinks, trying to focus. She sees the factory but suddenly remembers something else. She asks Ben to find the dog. Ben hesitates, torn between pushing forward and honoring her request. Seeing the desperation in her eyes, he nods and moves into the woods, calling for the dog. Finally, he spots the dog curled up near a tree, weak but alive. Suddenly, a sharp snap echoes through the air, pain shoots through his leg as a trap clamps down on his ankle. Alex, hearing his cries, forces herself up despite her weakness. When she reaches him, her eyes widen in horror. Ben is trapped, pain etched across his face. Realizing she is their only chance, Alex turns and rushes toward the factory. Alex stumbles through the snow, her body barely holding on. She reaches the road and sees a truck approaching. With the last of her strength, she throws herself onto the road, waving her arms desperately. The truck screeches to a halt. The driver jumps out, rushing toward her. Weeks later, Ben wakes up in a hospital bed. The sterile scent fills the air. The first thing he does is ask about Alex. Pushing himself up despite the pain in his injured leg, he makes his way to her room. When he sees her awake, relief washes over him. A few seconds later, Alex's fiancée Mark walks in. Ben watches as Mark rushes to Alex's side, relief evident in his face. He thanks Ben for saving her life, his gratitude sincere. Without another word, he turns and walks away. Months pass. Ben returns to work, but everything has changed. Due to his injured fingers, he can no longer perform surgery. Instead, he works as a nurse, assisting where he can. He now lives with Walter's dog, the only companion he has left. Elsewhere, across the city, Alex tries to return to normal life. Her friends throw her a welcome home party, but she does not feel like celebrating. She thinks of Ben, knowing she's still in love with him. After months of silence, Alex and Ben finally meet again. They agree to meet at a restaurant in New York, a neutral place where they can talk. The moment their eyes meet, the truth is undeniable. Alex finally speaks. She tells him that she called off her engagement. She explains that she fell in love with him on that mountain. Ben takes a breath, feeling the weight of everything they went through. He has felt the same way, but hearing it aloud shakes him. She tells him that she thinks they need to part ways to find themselves, her words cutting deep. They say their goodbyes, forcing themselves to accept the reality of their lives. As they walk away, something shifts. They both stop and they turn back, and in that moment, they realize the truth: they are still in love. Make sure to like and subscribe for more notifications. Until next time. See you soon.